Dear students, we start with our second year part from today, and here our topic for discussion here is ray optics, the chapter number 9 of NCERT textbook. And here, before proceeding further in any of these things, we just inquire about a question what comes across in our mind. Say, in this world, we see many things. In your classroom, you see the teachers what they write on the board. And all these things are possible because of, can you say, what is the reason for all these things? The light reflecting from the objects. So, the light reflecting from different objects, and once that reflected light enters into our eyes, it creates the effect of visualization or vision for us. Therefore, our idea in this chapter is to learn about the light, and in the 11th, 10th chapter also about the light. But now, for the time being, we start with chapter number 9. Its name, chapter name is Ray Optics. Ray optics. As its name suggests, here we consider light path as a ray, that is a line with an arrow. And using that, we learn lot many things along with a little bit of geometrical ideas. Now, as we started with the reflection idea, we start with the what is reflection? Reflection is just the light sent back after falling on a surface. Say, usually in our day-to-day life, mirrors are good reflectors. We send back the light falling on them. That's why we are able to see our images, and all those things happens. Now, in the first session we concentrate on some terminology, some definitions, and one derivation. Now, here in the beginning, we start learning with the terminology. Say, we usually represent a mirror by drawing a line and with slant lines like this, as I am drawing now. These slant lines show the coated surface of the mirror, and this line, plain line, show the reflecting surface of the mirror. Now, we go for the terminology. Say, I draw a normal, a perpendicular to this mirror, like this. And this I call as normal. Now, a ray of light is falling on the surface, that we can write as like this. A ray of light falling on the surface can be written like this. And this is indicated by an arrow, and if we call this as PQ. So, this PQ with arrow represents the light falling on it, and in particular, this is called as incident ray. Incident ray. And after falling on the mirror, it gets reflected back, it's sent back. And the sent back ray is written like this with an arrow, and I call it as R there. QR is our reflected ray, so I call this as reflected ray. So these are the terminologies or definitions to be learned. Normal means a perpendicular drawn to the surface of mirror or reflecting surface. PQ, the incident ray. Reflected ray is QR here, which is reflected from the surface. Now we also mark some angles there. Say, PQ, the incident ray, makes some angle with the normal. This I call as angle of incidence I. And in the same manner, the QR, the reflected ray, makes some angle with the normal, and this is called as angle of reflection. So, I is angle of incidence. angle of incidence, R is angle of reflection. So with these basic things about the reflection and terminology, we start learning some laws behind the reflection of light. Now observe. First law usually says the PQ, the incident ray, QR, the reflected ray, and normal drawn at the point of incidence all lie in the same plane. That means all of them, if PQ, incident ray, is along the paper, then QR, the reflected ray, should be along the paper plane only. Even normal what we draw is also in the same plane. So that is the first law. First law of reflection says the incident ray, reflected ray, and the normal drawn at the point of incidence to the reflecting surface all lie in the same plane. This is first law of reflection. Second law is very simple, and it is going to say the angle of incidence I and the angle of reflection R are equal. Say, let me write second law here. Angle of incidence is equal to angle of reflection. I equals R. These are the two laws of reflection. Whatever may be the reflection, which is always governed by these two laws. Once again, we recap the first and second law. First law tells us the incident ray, the reflected ray, and the normal drawn at the point of incidence all lie in the same plane. Second law tells us the angle of incidence is equal to angle of reflection. And using this, we learn many more things regarding the ray optics in due course. So next we continue with the idea of the curved surfaces or curved mirrors. Before that, we start with aperture. Say, first word in the ray optics, the definition is aperture. Now, with this basic background of aperture is area available for reflection. Now, with these things, we continue with the mirrors, especially curved or what we call as spherical mirrors. We concentrate on that as it is given in your NCERT topics. Say, what is a spherical mirror? Say, if we imagine a globe made of glass, hollow sphere made of glass like this, if I cut a part out of it, then that gives me a part like this. Then this part, if I make outer surface reflecting by coating the inner surface like this, then this is the reflecting, this is non-reflecting. Then this becomes a mirror, especially spherical mirror. In the same manner, if we make inner surface reflecting by coating the outer surface like this, this is our inner surface, it becomes reflecting, this is our outer surface, non-reflecting. So these two serve as the mirrors. Therefore, when outer surface becomes reflecting, inner surface becomes non-reflecting, this type of mirrors, as you know from your high school classes, called as convex mirrors. Convex mirror. And once inner surface becomes reflecting and outer surface becomes non-reflecting, it is called as concave mirror. Concave mirror. So these two are the two types of spherical mirrors. Once again, before proceeding further, spherical mirror is a mirror obtained by taking a part of a sphere. And there are two types of mirrors. Once the outside surface is reflecting, that is called as convex mirror. Once the inner surface is reflecting, that is called as concave mirror. With these things, now we learn some more definitions regarding the spherical mirrors. As we learned aperture, now we learn some more. Say, midpoint of the aperture in any of these mirrors, either convex or concave, midpoint of the aperture is what we call as pole of the mirror. Pole means midpoint of the aperture, usually indicated by P. Here I am doing it, P. That is, P is the pole of the mirror. Here also for concave mirror, P is the pole of the mirror. It is the geometrical center of the aperture. So, pole is there. Another term what we want to learn here is curvature. As its word suggests, curvature means how much it is bending. So, if it is more bent, more curvature, less bent, less curvature. Now, using that word curvature, we define two more things now. First of all, as we said, this mirror is a part of a sphere. Therefore, the sphere center also serves as the center for getting this curved surface or spherical mirror. Therefore, that center of the mirror of which this curved surface or a spherical mirror forms a part may be called as center of curvature. Center of curvature. Center of curvature is the center of the sphere of which curved surface forms a part. In the same manner, sphere has got a radius. The radius for this curved surface or mirror is also same thing. Therefore, we can also define what is called as radius of curvature. So, radius of curvature is the radius of the sphere of which curved surface forms a part. So, we will go for the definitions once again. What we learned here? The pole. It is the geometrical center of the aperture. Center of curvature. It is the center of the sphere of which the curved surface forms a part. Radius of curvature. It is the radius of the sphere of which curved surface forms a part. So, with these basic definitions, we will go for next definition. Say, I write the figure. One more figure like this. I take a concave mirror like this. And I mark a pole there, and I mark center of curvature. If I join these two by a line like this, then this line passing through pole and the center of curvature is called as principal axis. Principal axis. Observe the spelling. Principal, it means PAL there. It means important ray. In a way it is important because we measure many things using this as the reference. That's why we call it as principal. So, principal axis is the line passing through pole and center of curvature. See. And with this, next thing is, in ray optics, in this chapter, whatever may be the thing which we do, we always use what are called as paraxial rays. Paraxial rays. These are the rays which are very close to the principal axis and which makes very, very small angle with the principal axis. And also sometimes we take them as parallel rays also. Therefore, basically we concentrate on paraxial rays. Paraxial rays are the light rays which are very close to the principal axis and makes very small angle with the principal axis. So, these are the two definitions. Before proceeding further, we recap these two. Principal axis is the line passing through center of curvature and the pole. Paraxial rays are the light rays which are very close to the principal axis and making a very small angle with the principal axis. So, these are the two definitions. Now, if a parallel beam of light ray fall on the mirror, then that converges to a point like this. Just observe. In the same manner, if I write another light ray this way, that also converges to a point like this. Then this point on the principal axis to which this parallel beam of light ray converges after falling on the concave mirror is called as F, denoted by F, and it is called as principal focus. Principal focus. So, can you define the principal focus? It is the point on the principal axis to which a parallel beam of light ray converges after falling on the concave mirror. So, how do we define principal focus for the convex mirror? I write that diagram now. Just observe. This is our convex mirror, and this is the pole, and this is the center of curvature. This is our principal axis. Now, parallel beam of light ray. So it goes like this. It goes like this. Now, according to law of reflection, it has to reflect. So for drawing the normal for these 2 points where the incident rays are falling, where do we draw the normal? You know, in a sphere or a circle, the radius drawn from the center is always also a normal. Now, from C, if I draw a line and extend it outside, it becomes the normal. Let me write the normal like this. Just observe. I draw the normal like this. This is the normal. And in the same manner on this side also, I can draw the normal. So this is the normal. Now, according to law of reflection, the incident beam, these two, gets reflected with same angle. That means it should get reflected like this, and it should get reflected like this. Now, once we extrapolate them backwards, they meet at a point on the principal axis like this, and this I call as F, the principal focus. Observe, in case of convex mirror, the light will not converge to that point, but it appears to come from that point. Say, once we look into these reflected rays, that seems to come from F. Therefore, for a definition of principal focus, irrespective of whether it is concave or convex, we can go for it like this. It's a point on the principal axis to which a parallel beam of light ray converges after falling on the concave mirror or appears to diverge from that point after falling on the convex mirror. Let me repeat the definition once again. Principal focus is a point on the principal axis to which a parallel beam of light ray converges after falling on the concave mirror or appears to diverge from after falling on the convex mirror. So these are the definitions. Before proceeding further, we just recap all the words what we learned now in the curved surface. First of all, aperture, area available for reflection. Next, convex mirror or concave mirror, totally a spherical mirror. A spherical mirror is a mirror obtained by a part of a sphere, and convex mirror means where the outer surface is reflecting. Concave mirror means where the inner surface is reflecting. And pole is the geometrical center of the aperture. Center of curvature is the center of the sphere of which curved mirror forms a part. Radius of curvature, it is the radius of the sphere of which curved surface forms a part. Then principal axis, a line passing through center of curvature and the pole. Then paraxial rays, all the light rays which are very close to the principal axis and making very small angle with the principal axis are called as paraxial rays. Principal focus, when a parallel beam of light ray falls on the concave mirror, it converges to a point on the principal axis, or it appears to diverge from a point when falling on the convex mirror. That point is called as principal focus. So with these basic things now in the mind, we want to concentrate on a derivation or two more definitions and then the derivation. What are the two more definitions? Just observe here. The distance between the focus, principal focus, and the pole like this is what we call as, what we denote as f, and it is called as focal length. Focal length. In the case of convex mirror, it goes like this. These two. This is f. Focal length is the distance between principal focus and the pole of the mirror. That is called as focal length. And at the same time, we can think of one more definition, focal plane. Focal length, we learned focal plane. It's a plane containing focus and perpendicular to the principal axis. If you want, I write the diagram like this. Just observe. I write a mirror again like this, and it is the pole, it is the center of curvature, and it is a concave mirror. Now, if it is focused there, then if we imagine a plane perpendicular to the principal axis and including the focus in it, that plane is called as focal plane. This plane is called as focal plane. So, before proceeding further for the derivation, now we just recollect some definitions what we use again and again. Now, the focal length, it is the distance between principal focus and the pole. Focal plane, it is the plane perpendicular to the principal axis, including f, the principal focus. So, these two are the definitions what just we learned. Now, we proceed on to the derivation, that is the relation between f, the focal length, and the radius of curvature. We go for the derivation of relation between the focal length and radius of curvature. So, we do this derivation very simply by using the geometry. Now, for that, I write the figure in a little bit big manner. Just observe. This is the concave mirror, and this is the pole, this is the center of curvature, and this is our f, principal focus. Now we write rays of light and all those things, incident beam like this, and the normal to be drawn. Normal at this point, M is a line passing through M from center of curvature like this, and this is angle of incidence. Now, after reflection, it passes through the focus like this. Say in geometrical optics, the figures are very important, and in the board exams, say the rays to be written with arrow marks. Without forgetting the arrow mark, you must write the rays. This is the angle of refraction. What can also be written as I, the angle of incidence, because of the second law, angle of reflection is nothing but angle of incidence, so I equals I. Now, by using geometry, look at this. Say this, if I call as P, PM is incident ray, PMC is angle of incident, and therefore MCP is also I, because they are alternate angles. In the same manner, MFP and PMF both are same. Here observe PMF, I plus I, 2I. Therefore, MFP is also 2I, alternate angles. Therefore, we have marked two angles. I just let me repeat. PMC is angle of incidence, and CMF angle of reflection, what is also angle of incidence according to law of reflection. Now PM is parallel to CF. Therefore, this slant line, the normal, creates alternate angle. This is I and this is I. Therefore, these two are I. Now, in the same manner, PM and the slant line MF creates two more alternate angles, that is 2I here, 2I here. And also I draw a perpendicular from M to principal axis at D. For D is the foot of the perpendicular. As we are considering paraxial rays, M is very close to P, or D is almost superposing on P. Therefore, for all practical purposes and derivations, here and after, we consider paraxial rays and we always take MD is approximately equal to MP. Therefore, from the figure, I write some triangles and some ideas like this. Just observe. I write tan I from triangle MCD, from triangle MCD, tan I is MD by CD. But observe, CD is R, what I can write. Therefore, MD is MD by R, For small angles, tan theta, approximately theta, therefore, I is equal to MD by R. In the same manner, I can write next one. Just observe. From triangle FMD, tan 2I equals MD, the opposite side, by adjacent FD. But observe, as MD is approximately equal to MP, FD can be written as the focal length F. Therefore, I write MD by F. For small angles again, tan 2I is equal to approximately 2I for small angles. Therefore, 2I equals MD by F. Say, if I call this as equation 1 and this as equation 2, from 1 and 2, that is substituting for I from 1 into 2, I can write 2. For I write MD by R, and on this side MD by F. So cancel MD there, and by reciprocating it, F equals R by 2. Observe the relation between the focal length and the radius of curvature is this, F equals R by 2, and it is valid for mirrors only. Now, before concluding this session, let me go through this derivation once again. But remember, you need not bother about all the steps to be by-hearted in doing the derivation. If you can remember some steps, you can easily do that. Very first step in usually ray optics derivation is to write the figure. Once you write the figure properly, next idea is to write down and label the parts. All the parts are labeled in the figure means your derivation is almost over. Let me tell you, in the first step to write the figure, first you write the mirror as I have written, concave mirror, and show an incident beam PM from the left side falling at M, then draw a normal, that is a line from center of curvature passing through M in this dotted line. That acts as the normal because it's a radius. Now, making the same angle, draw another ray MFR or MF, that is called as the reflected ray, and that also makes same angle I, what is according to the law of reflection. Now, once you draw this figure, you mark other angles also. By the geometry, you can take MCD also as I and MFD as 2I, and observe D is the foot of the perpendicular from M on principal axis, and for paraxial rays, MD is approximately equal to MP. For all calculations, we take MD equals MP. Now, as we want to connect F and R in the next step, once you have written figure with all labeling, it's easy to connect F and M. How to think, say, F and R, to connect F and R. How to think, say, observe F is in the triangle MFD and R is in the triangle MCD. Therefore, in both the things, MD is same. That means opposite side for I and 2I remains same. That will tell you, you can take tan. Therefore, I start like this. From triangle MCD, tan I equals MCD, tan I equals opposite MD by adjacent CD. I have written. But CD is nothing but R. Therefore, MD by R. But for small angles, for tan or sine, it's approximately equal to theta. Tan theta equals theta. So here theta is I, therefore I equals MD by R. I call this as equation 1. Now, proceeding further, from triangle FMD, because I connected I now, I want to connect R there. Therefore, to connect R, how to take, say, to connect F, how to take 2I triangle. That will tell me what should I bring into the derivation is F, focal length. So that will tell me you have to take the triangle with angle 2I. Therefore, from triangle FMD, tan 2I is opposite MD divided by adjacent FD. But FD is nothing but F. MD by F I write. But for small angles again, tan 2I is 2I. So 2I equals MD by F. I call this as equation 2. From 1 and 2, if you substitute for I in second equation, you get 2 as it is. I is MD by R, MD by F. You cancel MD there. F is equal to R by 2 because 2 by R equals 1 by F. After taking the reciprocal, F equals R by 2. This is the derivation what we require to learn. There I conclude this first session in the ray optics. We'll continue with the second session in the next thing. There we learn some more aspects and some more derivations in the coming sessions. There I conclude for this session. Thank you all.